Yo, what's your boy Ghost here, and today I'm bringing you guys another comparison video on the new SMG, the Macro 5, and Owen gun. And I know I haven't made a comparison in quite some time, but that was just because, like, at the end of Season 3, nobody wants to see a comparison, bro. At that point, everybody was just, like, really bored with the Warzone, and everyone was just trying to get past it. And so, I just went to the gameplays, the good old trusty gameplays for that time being. But now, with the new update, with the new changes, the new guns, we're finally back to the comparisons. I'm excited because I do like making comparisons, and it's been, like I said, it's been quite some time since I made one. Yeah, man, with this new SMG, there's actually a lot of things to talk about. There's a lot of things that have happened in the last 3 days that this whole update's been out, because a lot of things actually have changed since day one, which is kind of crazy because, we'll just get into that in a little bit later. But before we do get into the comparison, I want to say, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 3,000. We're like, 970 subs away, which is some ways to go. But every sub does greatly help, and it's always very appreciated. Also, you guys can do me a favor of following me over my Twitch channel. That's where I end up, grinding. That's where you can see me grind live. Hit the follow button over there, man. Always goes underscore. But yeah, man. With that being said, let's get into the comparison. I heard the recoil pattern for the Macro 5, which, as you guys can see, nothing too crazy. This gun at range isn't necessarily like the biggest threat. I will still probably pick the Owen gun over it, even after the Owen gun got nerfed a couple times, and that's because this gun at range, just damage wise, like it's not actually really up there. Not even just at range, it's just in general. This gun's damage isn't really like too crazy. Like, definitely a Blixen or Owen gun or even a well gun, I believe, has more damage than this weapon. This gun just has a lot of other factors that go for it. Like, the fire rate is pretty solid. I would have said the mobility was like extremely good. It's just that they ended up nerfing the, what's it called, the whole mobility thing. I don't know if you guys have been aware, but in this new update, a new attachment, the tape grip actually ended up getting broken, where it made the mobility a lot more faster than intended. So basically, instead of like a 5% movement increase, it went to a 10%. And that's what was running over Warzone. A lot of people were having a lot of fun with this, specifically the people, I would say the top tier players, because they claimed that it improved the skill gap, which I do agree, because movement to an extent does take a lot more skill, because not everyone's going to be able to use movement the same way. So I do agree with the statement that it made a skill gap. I personally, I'm an okay movement player. I know I'm a good player, but movement wise, I'm not like necessarily the most flashiest. So I can't sit here and be like, that thing really impacted me. I definitely noticed it though. It was really fun, and I'm actually really sad that it went away so fast, because most of these clips actually have the tape grip, especially the Owen gun. So it's kind of tough, but. One of the things that this gun had going for it was the fact that this was probably one of the fastest guns in the game when the tape grip was added and all the mobility attachments are added on. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, you were literally slipping and sliding with this weapon, and that was actually really fun. That's what really gave it the upper hand over a lot of the SMGs, because like the Blixen, that gun didn't really get changed in the update. That gun is still really, really good. If you guys have seen the reviews, then you know that it's still a really good weapon. And even like the Owen gun, for example, can't also really compete at that level, because that gun is just stupid. And I never unlocked it, so that's why you never saw a video from me, because I just never unlocked it. I'm probably gonna have to if it keeps up like this, because like, bro, the gun's been good for too long now. They had a chance to make it not as good, and they failed. But they did make all the other guns kind of like, I don't know. I think they didn't really focus on. Actually, no, can't even say that, because with the NZ41 they did the same thing. They didn't nerf the NZ41 how they were supposed to, and now that gun is still cooking. So I do believe that these two guns eventually will get nerfed. It's just, I don't know when it'll happen. Like, it could be next week, it could be 2 weeks from now. They could take a long time. They could nerf it tomorrow. How they nerfed the tape grip, because the tape grip got nerfed extremely fast, which is really, really sad. Because like, I saw a lot of people post about this, and it really is true. Like, when we've had all these terrible metas for months on end, but the one time we get a just thing that isn't as bad as those metas, and it gets nerfed instantly, and it's just kind of ridiculous. But hey, that's just Warzone for you, and we just got to that they do one good thing and then do like 20 different just bad things, and it's just like, man, it's kind of tiring. But it is what it is. But with that being said, let's just get into the own gun and some stats. We have the recoil pattern for the Owen gun, which as you guys see, not too crazy. But this gun, like I said, in my opinion, still has the advantage over the macro. Now, granted, I have not used the macro with the new updated class setup that is not focused on so much mobility and close range engagements. But when I do, you know what I'm saying, in the future comparisons, you know, we'll talk about that when it's time to talk about it. Because you already know, man, Macro 5 is going to be in my comparisons for quite some time because there's a lot to talk about with these guns. Also because the fact that like the Owen gun, for example, did get nerfed as well, and actually a nerf that actually did something. So it's, you know, right now like the SMG conversation is a little bit wonky. I mean, a lot of people might already have their solidified gun in the Blixen, but if the Blixen were to get nerfed like next week, for example, then again the whole SMG just conversation gets flipped upside down once again. But anyways, man, moving over to some stats. For the first set of stats we're going to talk about is the fire rate. For the Macro 5, it has a 663 RPM, while the Owen Guns has a 500 RPM. And again, here we go, like the Owen Gun at another fire rate disadvantage, which it always is in all these comparisons, because it definitely has one of the slowest fire rates in the SMG category. Like if you compare it to the Well Gun, the MP40, probably like all the other ones like the Blixen, Armaguerra, like this gun is just at the bottom in terms of fire rate. But the thing about this weapon is that it hits really, really hard. And the fire rate can always be increased with things like the recoil booster, the rapid barrel, and things like that. So, you know, that's why the fire rate doesn't really mean too much in terms of base stats. But in terms of like engagements and getting into gunfights, that it's definitely noticeable. And man, right now the way it got nerfed with the body damage and whatnot, it's definitely noticeable right now that the fire rate mismatch on a lot of these SMGs. And I think right now the Owen gun is kind of definitely falling off. I was using it for a lot, but it just didn't feel the same because again, like I mentioned, it did get nerfed in terms of damage, and the damage for body shots was ridiculous back before the update, and now it's still pretty good, but like I mean the other SMGs are just overtaking it right now. But speaking of that damage, for the first set of damages for the Macro 5 for 0 to 11 meters, you got 54 damage to the head and neck, 39 to the chest, 36 to the stomach, 36 to the upper leg and arm, 32 to the lower leg and arm. For the Owen gun 0 to 15.2 meters, you got 56 damage to the head and neck. And then this is where the nerf comes in, 48 damage to the chest. That used to be 56 damage. Then it's 39 to the stomach, and then 39 to the upper leg and arm, 35 to the lower leg and arm. So again, like the Owen gun is definitely damage-wise getting a little bit weaker. And again, with the fire rate being much lower than the other SMGs, like the disadvantages just continue to pile up. And I think this weapon right now could maybe still be a top 3, but top 3 is getting a little questionable. And to be honest, like the new just wave of SMGs is already starting to come in. Like the Blixen, for example, I would say argue is probably like one of the best SMGs in the game. I do think that the new SMG right now is definitely in conversation as well, even with the movement just getting reverted to what it is. And that's what, you know, we're having this comparison. But moving over to the longer ranges for 11 to 16 meters for the Macro 5, we got 48 damage to the head and neck, 35 to the chest, 32 to the stomach, 32 to the upper leg and arm, 28 to the lower leg and arm. And this is why I say that the newer gen SMGs are trying to take over, because, I mean, in this situation, the Macro 5 actually has slightly better damage than the Owen gun, especially to the head and neck, because the head and neck for 15.2 to 19.7 meters for the Owen gun is 47 damage to the head and neck, 41 to the chest, 33 to the stomach, 33 to the upper leg and arm, 29 to the lower leg and arm. So, like, you know, Macro 5 already kind of, like, showing its impact that it has right now. And then for 60 meters and above for the Macro 5, you got 37 damage to the head and neck, 27 to the chest, 25 to the stomach, 25 to the upper leg and arm, 22 to the lower leg and arm. And then for the Owen gun, 19.7 meters and above, you got 34 to the head and neck, 30 to the chest, 24 to the stomach, 24 to the upper leg and arm, and 21 to the lower leg and arm. So the Macro 5 right now, especially with the Owen gun getting nerfed constantly after every update, definitely seems like the better option. Which is kind of crazy because, you know, the Macro 5, like, I ain't gonna lie, like, the damages surprised me. It didn't feel like it was this powerful, but now I see that it definitely has the potential. Now, against the Blixen, like, the whole Blixen is a whole different story, which, honestly, at this point, I think I'm just gonna have to unlock it just for the sake of this conversation. But I mean, hey, man, right now the Owen gun is not looking too hot, and I still have yet to try the other SMGs. And again, like, the changes that are yet to come, I definitely see the Owen gun falling out of top 3 at the moment. So, like, the question is, if the Owen gun is still the meta after the update. I honestly don't think it is. I still think it's a solid SMG, but I mean, right here, statistically, the Macro 5 pretty much does everything better than the Owen gun, and even close to the magazine size. Like, the Owen gun has 72, the new SMG has 64, up to 64, and it's just like, you know, the Owen gun I think just got replaced by the Macro 5, in my opinion. I'm definitely gonna be rocking the Macro 5 a lot more now because I definitely do like it, but I still have to try a lot of other SMGs. So you know, once we try out a lot more SMGs, we can actually have like a full official ranking, from my perspective. But yeah, man. In conclusion, I will say that the Macro 5 at the moment is definitely better than the Owen gun. And I think the Owen gun is finally getting overtaken for the number one SMG. I probably did with the Blixen in last season, but you know, like I said, there's still a lot more to talk about. So make sure to hit that sub button and turn on those notifications, bro, because we're gonna be going crazy on these comparisons, trying to get to the bottom of both the SMG and AR conversations in Warzone at the moment. But like I said, man, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.